questions. There's 16 here, and we'll kind of go down through the answers, and I'll give you the sources, and we can talk about them afterwards. All right. Which of the following does the federal government spend the most on in the 2012 federal budget? Anybody want to take a stab at it?
Healthcare.
Healthcare, that's right. That's 23%. The next highest is Social Security at 20%. And that's from the Office of Management and Budget, from incorporated with the President's fiscal year 2012 proposed budget. Number 2, gross domestic product. That's the entire economic output of the country. So by the end of 2012, and actually pretty close to right now, the federal debt is equal to what percent of the GDP?
100.
100. All right, that's from the U.S. Debt Clock, which is usdebtclock.org. All right, if y'all have ever heard me speak before, you'll know the answer to number 3. How much do we borrow on every dollar we spend?
40.
40 cents. That's right. All right. Total amount of the federal deficit. 1.5. And that's good. That's from the 2011 fiscal year from the GPO, federal budget. Okay, according to the White House OMB, how much, okay, you're using 2009 numbers because these are the most recent. How much do we lose to waste, fraud, and abuse out of 3.1 trillion?
250 billion?
Nope. Nope. 100 billion. Only 100 billion. Only.
Find waste and fraud, but anyway.
And that comes from the OMB, Office of Management and Budget. That's from the White House. All right, number 6. So eliminating all the waste, fraud, and abuse. This is the math test. What percent of the deficit would we erase?
7%.
7% if you remember your middle school math. All right, so if we were to cut earmarks, pork barrel spending, how much would we save? This is according to Citizens Against Government Waste, which is an advocacy group. How much could we save?
207.
17 billion. All right, so if we roll back the Bush tax cuts for all Americans, we could balance the budget.
False.
Yep. All right. Top 1% of all wage earners in America pay what percent of taxes collected by the government? Top 1%.
38%.
38%. That's good, Mike. All right. The top 10% of wage, and okay, that's from the Wall Street Journal, IRS's 2008 tax statistics. That's where that number came from. All right, the top 10 of all U.S. wage earners. This is from the same Wall Street Journal article. Pay what percent of the total taxes? Top 10%. 70. Yeah, 70% being paid by the top 10% of all wage earners. All right. What percentage of Americans currently pay no federal income tax?
47.
47. There you go. That's the Tax Policy Center, 2009 numbers. All right. When Medicare was created, that was 1965, well after Social Security. What was the life expectancy for an American according to the CDC? 70. In 65, it was 70. All right, so in 2011.
Do we get partial credit if we were close?
All right, 2011, what's the lifespan?
82.
Yep, 79.
3.
All right, okay, so now, according, in 2010, this is actually a 2010 number, so we'll give you a little play. According to the AMA, what percent of primary care physicians limit the Medicare patients that they see? What percentage of doctors limit the number of Medicare patients? 31. 31.
This is what year for question 14?
That was impact of Medicare physicians payment on senior 2010. That's according to the American Medical Association. All right, in 1940, there were 159 workers for each Social Security beneficiary. As of 2009, how many were there for each?
3.
All right, and true or false? President Obama's budget, by the White House's own projection, will accumulate more debt by 2020 than every president in American history, from the original GW to the last GW.
True.
True. And that's from the Heritage Foundation.
And then you're talking about George W. Bush, not George H.W.
Yeah, we're starting with George Washington and then George W. Bush, so the two GWs. All right, so how many got all of them right? All right. Well, did you really get them all? You got them all right? You get my congratulations in the prize in civics. So I think what this little exercise does is give you an idea of some of the challenges we face in the federal government with respect to budgeting. You look at you're about half of federal spending just on Social Security and Medicare. Projections have that going up into the 90% a few years down the road. I forget the exact number, but it's like not that far in the future. So we've got a real problem there. We've also got a huge debt crisis that can't be solved with what a lot of people say, all right, get rid of just the waste, fraud, and abuse, and get rid of a couple of programs here or there. So we've got a whole lot of spending cuts we need to do. And then we get into some discussions about what we're going to cut, how we're going to do it, and how fast we're going to do it, and what will happen to the American economy based on those decisions. So we see one thing, it took us a long time to get up to our debt, our current debt, but it's growing very, very fast, faster than it has in history. A lot of that has to do with the last Congress, the current administration, the bailout, the stimulus. I mean, that's adding things up real fast. So the first thing that tells you is we need to put the brakes on it. But then we've also realized that we didn't get here overnight. So we're probably not going to be able to undo it overnight. We're not going to pay that down instantly. We've got to take it in reasonable bite-sized chunks. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the scope of the problem. There are a lot of folks, the Tea Party in particular, of which I consider myself a Tea Party supported candidate, believe that we need to just, cut it all as fast as we can. And that brought us up to the big controversy that we just had last week about raising the debt ceiling. Do you not raise the debt ceiling and use this as the opportunity to say, all right, we're done? And, that's a real tempting argument. I mean, if I were out of money myself, I'd cut way the heck back real fast. But what we've got is a situation where we've got seniors depending on Medicare. We've got seniors depending on the Social Security that they paid into. And we've got an economy that is at one of its most fragile states ever. So we come up to the debt ceiling vote. I go into this saying, all right, this is our opportunity. And then you hear from every banker and every stockbroker here in Corpus Christi, down in Brownsville. You don't hear from all of them, you hear from a lot. You hear from some experts in Washington, D.C., and they all say, if you do this, you're going to be in big trouble. If we don't raise